Hey there, Shooby Doodlers, how are you doing? Well, I thought I would do this little bit of fun. It's going to be Santa in an aeroplane, which is a bit silly. So we need a kind of an aeroplane shape. And so it needs to come up a little bit at the front and then a bit straight along the top and then bring that curve up to there. And the cockpit is going to be about there. And this will be the engine at the front with the propeller bit at the front, and we're going to want sort of zzz, like that. And I suppose I'm basically I'm basing this sort of on a Spitfire, I think, really. So that wants to sort of come through like that, and you have to kind of imagine that these wings are kind of an ellipse, so that will be going through there. And a similar thing happens with the tail plane as well, so that wants to sort of come about like that. But we want here a curve, so that's going to give a sort of feeling of curve to the wing. And then we want Santa. Oh, I might actually zoom in a bit here now. So then we want Santa, and he's going to have his head round about there, and his sort of arm like that with glove. And we'll have his sort of hand waving as he's actually should be. Actually, I'm going to just bring his hand in there like that, so that he's kind of on the joystick, as it were. And then we want to have his. We'll have the hat kind of like that going across there, and that's going to be sort of trailing away in the wind, isn't it? And I've been trying to draw Santa in many different ways, and I suddenly discovered by giving him sort of glasses, it just makes him look a bit more friendly, actually. So we'll do something like that. And that's basically it. Oh, we need the tail plane like that. And then we're going to need to have wheels, landing. Undercarriage, I think, will probably go about there like that, which will then go through to the other side, which will be about there. Now, I usually use a Rotring, but today I'm going to use a Unipin fine line, and this works because it's water and fade proof pigment ink, and you can get a very fine line. And with all this fur going on Santa's costume, I wanted to get that kind of fine line, but also you can get kind of thick and thin as well, a bit like a dip pen. And I think all the like the anime people, I think they use sort of brush pens quite a lot, and the the Marvel comics kind of thing. So I'll give him little smiley eyes like that, and eyebrows sticking up, and then he's going to want his moustachey bit, and that'll be his mouth and his lip. And then I think I can do a bit of his beard there like that, and then I need to bring his arm around there, and he's going to have a fur cuff, and yeah, something like that. And then we're going to see this kind of joystick sticking up there, and then we want to have the kind of the bit that goes around the top, so sort of a soft bit, so you're not leaning against sharp metal. And then that's going to be the rest of his beard, and then we'll have an arm sticking up here, so that would be the sort of the furry cuff, and a thumb and a mitten. And so he's kind of waving away like that. And then I think we probably need to come to the front to this nose cone. And now I'm going to do something like that. And then another one down there. Another one down there. And somehow kind of bring them all together into a kind of a whooshy propeller kind of thing. And maybe a bit of that going on. And then we can draw the top of the plane, and then that'll be the wing coming down there like that, and then I can use a much sort of finer line to, so I say use a finer line, this means using hardly any pressure. It's just kind of drifting across the surface of the paper, and then that would be the kind of aileron things, probably the wrong term, wing flaps. There's always, I'm not really good at my ailerons and things like that, and there's always someone who will come in and say, oh, actually you said wing flaps when it was actually an aileron, or the other way around. So if you're an airplane person and I've really deeply offended you with my terminology, then don't hesitate to hold back, let me know. So maybe I will get it right next time. So, but as I said, this is kind of loosely based on a kind of Spitfire kind of feel, and then that will come around there, and then we get that kind of thing going on, like we can, yeah. And then we got the under part there. So I think also I ought to have like a stripe going through like that, and then I think the wheel should come forward a bit like that to about there. So then we can draw the undercarriage part going there, and then we'll have an axle going through there, so then we can see the undercarriage part there, and then the wheel kind of sticking through there. And then, oh, I don't know, maybe I'll kind of have something like that just to make it, give a bit of curvature in, just to make it kind of feel like something's going on. I wonder if I should be putting lots of little rivets in. I think once you start, and then you have to kind of carry on, don't you? So let me do a few rivets just to bring it all together. And I think it's time to paint it. So I'm getting my hairdryer out so that I'm sure then that the ink is dry, and then I can erase all those pencil lines. So, and when you're doing this kind of thing, don't press hard with the pencil, because then it gets really difficult to erase the lines. And then I'm getting my Winsor & Newton sketching set out, and this is as you buy it. I've not changed anything. So you'll find links down below for this set, and I'm using a Pentel Aquash water brush as well. So all the links are down below. I'm kind of thinking that I should do the sky bit first. My patrons will know that my favourite colour is Naples yellow, and I'm itching to use it, but you don't get Naples yellow in this set. So I'm cleaning up the palette here, and I'm going to get a fresh piece of kitchen towel, and I'm going to mix up some colours here. So what I want is a kind of a bit of yellow, and I'm going to add a bit of this is yellow ochre, and I'll try a bit of that yellow in as well, lemon yellow, and I think, I can't remember what that one's called. So this isn't quite the colour that I want, but we'll see how it goes. And then I want some blue in there that's ready. That's the wrong blue, this is Prussian blue. What I really want is ultramarine, that's the one next to it. So I'll get some of that in there. So I'm just getting these colours ready and prepared, so that now I'm just squeezing the brush slightly, and then that kind of squeezes the colour off the brush onto the kitchen paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm now going to brush water in a circle around. Now this is watercolour paper, this is Seawhite watercolour paper, again there are links down below. And I'm just going to let that kind of soak in a bit, and then I'm going to get the yellow, and I'm going to get this kind of, so you need to work quite quickly, and I'm going to let that fade into where it's wet already, and then I'm going to get the blue as well, and I'm working on a flat surface. And the ink, as I said, is permanent pigment ink, and so it doesn't sort of run into the watercolour that I'm doing. And then I'm going to add, so I'm just slightly squeezing the brush to take it out to where it was wet and it's probably dried. And I want to get a kind of a blend in down here as well. So I'm really wanting it to sort of fade out nicely into that where it was. Oh, that's, yeah, now that's proper ultramarine now. So I'm now adding a bit more just to make it a bit obvious. And I don't want it in his little pom-pom there. I really wanted to leave that pom-pom nice and white, but I've gone over it by mistake because I'm being so fast. Speed, haste, you know. Oh, anyway. So now I'm just kind of pushing it around into this damp zone just to get that kind of thing, and then I'll let that dry. So now there's going to be a lot of scarlet. Oh, I can use this over here, can't I? So this is Scarlet Lake, I think. And we can paint the hat there like that. And then I'm going to drop in some more solid colour straight from the pan and do similar things here with the arm, and we've got the mitten there as well. We've got a mitten there and an arm, and then we've got the plane, and I think we can probably put a little bit of highlight there, which I should have done a bit earlier, but never mind. So I'll do the highlight down the back here like that. It's just leaving a bit of white space, and then we'll just draw paint in the leading edge, and then leave a little speck of white, a little line of white behind the leading edge as a highlight again. And we'll do the same down the front, leading edge of the tail plane. So there's a little sort of shininess appearing on the sharp edge of it. And then we'll paint the underneaths as well. Oh, that's gone over it slightly, but never mind. I think it's very easy to get carried away with it wanting to be perfection and not going over the lines and things. And if that's your thing, that's okay. Then don't go over the lines. And I know some people are very particular about going over the lines. And that is okay, then that is your thing. And if you're just a little bit more free, then don't worry about it too much. I think watercolour is quite a free, liberating style. And it doesn't really matter if you go over the edges. So we'll do this little line on the front of the leading edge of the wing there too. And we'll do the same along here. And then of course I'm slightly rushing it as well because because otherwise it's going to be a 4-hour video and you don't want that. So I'm just sort of showing you the highlights really. So, and I'm taking a bit directly from the palette and just sort of dropping that in on the front there, and then a little bit behind, so then I can kind of fade it in so we get sort of darker here and lighter at the back. And I'm going to get, this is alizarin crimson, which is a bit darker, and I'm going to use that sort of under there, I think. So I'm using this really as a shade of red, so I can do the kind of the darker sides to give a bit of kind of three-dimensional feel to things. So I put that more underneath there, and oh, I think we can do the undercarriage in red as well. So we'll do that under there. Like that, and then I think this little wheel centre will be red, as will that underneath there. And I think I can get some alizarin, sort of more solid, and just sort of drop that underneath there. I'm going to put a little bit of sort of pink in there for Santa, and maybe a little bit of red on his nose, and maybe a little red on his lip as well. And all this white fur is okay, but it needs a bit of shape to it. So I am going to add a little bit of blue sort of shadow. So there's his glasses, and I'm just going to give a little bit of sort of blue in there, and I'm going to put a little bit of blue around the I don't know, there's probably a word for it. The cockpit exterior rim, something like that, just to give a bit of sort of shade to the fur. And now my patrons will also know, you can be my patron if you like. You can come and join me on Patreon. You get a high-res image of this and a little bit of extra help. I do help sheets and things like that. So this is burnt. Burnt umber, and I'm going to add a bit of French ultramarine to it, and you can see it's turning sort of more and more grey. My instinct is to have a different colour in here called neutral tint, which is a colour I particularly love, as my patrons know. But you can mix it like this, a grey, and it's just a lot easier if you've just got neutral tint in there, and you can just use it straight from the pan. But I'm showing you how you can do this with this set, and as a starter set, you know, and asking you to get extra colours can get a bit complicated at the beginning. Now this set does come with white, and my instinct is just to throw out the white and add Naples yellow, but you can see that I painted over here, but it's white never really does the job of the paper, so it's making it a little bit better. I think when it's dry I can maybe add an extra bit on top, but the paper itself is the best white that you can get. So that's why along here I kind of leave bits out rather than paint white on the top. If you're really stuck, then getting a solid gouache poster paint kind of white on the top works much better than the white from a watercolour pan. So I'm going to add a little bit of blue to this, so I'm going to just sort of spin that around like that, and then make this a bluey grey, like that's coming out that way. And then we're going to want some more kind of whooshy like that. Oh, it's probably not. It's probably overdone that. We probably need a little bit of kind of redness in there as well, a bit of red underneath. Basically all we need to do now is a couple of whooshy lines, which maybe there should be a bit of red in there actually, shouldn't there? Sort of leaving sort of red lines behind like that. Speed lines, and then we could have the grey lines coming off the wheels like that. And I think, oh yeah, I think now I'm just going to get a bit more of this French ultramarine, a bit more burnt umber to get that grey, a bit more blue. You have to kind of keep playing with it, and so it goes between blue and brown, and then suddenly it's grey. And I'm going to add a little bit of shadow in underneath there, maybe a bit under there, and under there, yeah. And I think we could have some shadow under there, and that whole red part's going to be in shade underneath there. Anything else? Maybe that's a bit shaded. And just add a little bit more into that nose cone, and maybe a bit more kind of movement. I'm just going to dry this a second. In fact, what I'm going to do is make this available on Patreon as a high-res scan, and I'm going to turn it into a little Christmas card, so that you can print it and fold it, and it'll be a Christmas card from me. So there you go. And maybe we see, you can do these. So you can put these little highlights in, but they kind of tend to fade. That's why I like to make all my highlights out of the white paper. There we go. Happy holidays to you all. Happy Christmas if you celebrate it. And I will be back in the new year, I think maybe with a few changes. I'll look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, keep drawing, eat lots and lots of stuff. And I'll see you next time. You take care now. Bye-bye.